Hi guys, so I'm Joshua, as you just heard. I want to talk to you about one night on September 29th when I was drinking in my room with my friend, Frank, and I didn't feel happy with myself. I felt, as you would say, like, not good looking because I was like, why am I still single out of high school? It's been like 4 years. And so I thought maybe I wasn't pretty enough. And so like I said, I was drinking, I got my paintbrush, I did makeup, just like a simple creation. And I chose to be a drag queen, which is get your face and you transform it to something else. So now I could come into class looking like Caroline. Why? Because that's the easiest face to do because she's so white. Other than that, so I was drinking in my room, I created a different person, and my name I created was Candace Ice. Everyone thinks like, why is it Candace Ice? Well, Ice was because I was drinking Smirnoff Ice, so it was like a funny analogy. Candace is because Candace, I always have the name Candace. And the cunt part came from the word cunt, because I'm a fucking cunt as a drag queen. So after that, I created her, and what I want to talk to you about why drag queens have their significant purposes is because they create a two-in-one person. Second, the LGBT communities, they suffer from restriction by being open about themselves. And third, being a drag queen also has job opportunities. So by that, creating the identity is basically how I just said in my story, you're not feeling pretty, you're not feeling welcome. How Mario said in his speech, how people on social media say you're fat, you're ugly, you're all this. Or how Clement in her speech on Tuesday, she said dressing up is a negative side. To me, it's a positive side. I could put a wig on, I could put makeup on, and I could feel like I'm pretty. People come up to me at the club saying, oh, my hair is so cute, and I'm like, thank you. So this is my boy voice as Joshua, as my drag voice is just like this. It talks really slow, and it's just really funny. So, hey guys, I'm Candace. And another thing is how I said about being fat, it's just, you're not feeling appreciated. Like, yeah, I have no body. I have like a flat chest, I have no stomach, and then when I'm in the swimming pool, I look like a twig. But then when I put like my breast on or whatever, it looks funny because I have like my body put together. And people say you're hard. So it's just gaining compliments and getting my life like revived. Like, okay, I am pretty. Maybe I wasn't pretty as Josh, but I'm pretty as Candace. Another thing is how the LGBT communities, they suffer from like the restrictions and disease. It's because still to this day, we still have people hating on us. Like, oh, you're a faggot. Oh, you're going to go to hell. Obviously, we know we're going to go to hell, so shut the fuck up. Okay? But we're still going to be what we're doing because we like who we are. Do I say anything like, oh, you're gay, you're black? Okay, you're black, you're Asian, you're fat, I'm not discriminating you, so don't come at me. Okay, obviously, you feel it's like you have insecure problems, that's why you're coming at me, but shut up and be a drag or something. Another thing is, like, on the RuPaul show, a couple of the queens, RuPaul is a drag show, it's like American Next Top Model. A couple of the queens have mentioned on the runway that they're HIV positive. So that is a really positive thing for in the closet people who have HIV. I don't have HIV. Who have HIV to come out and saying, I'm open, it's not bad, because dating in the real world, and I met people who tell me they have HIV. And yeah, I was scared off. I was like, oh, maybe I should keep my distance because I don't want to catch it either. You don't catch it just right away. It's like there's like not stuff to do to catch it, but you can still be dating having HIV. And hearing those queens on the show saying like I'm open and I have HIV, it just shows like, wow, look at them, they're so out there, they're on TV and they're positive. It just gives them like a really good benefit of being who they are. Another thing is how the government, like this is kind of off topic, but how the gay people now, homosexuals can marry each other. It just shows that we are moving forward, but by how Trump stopped this by moving forward was how transsexuals could use the same-sex restroom. That I agree with just because I wouldn't want my kids later in the future sharing a restroom with someone who's older, like dressing in drag. It's just gonna make my kids feel scared. And yeah, I do agree that kids need step-by-step going up and seeing how the ladder moves. And by last, saying how the LGBT community, how being a drag queen has job opportunities. Drag queens perform all over around the world. They go to UK, they go to Europe, they get flew out there, they get paid to perform there, and they get tips. So being a queen is not really bad. Okay, I could go to Europe by getting paid to fly out there, showing my body off, lip syncing for my life, and people handing me dollar bills, and I can be making a good $200 with a trip out to Europe. So by that, RuPaul, and like RuPaul, she has her own TV show, Alaska. These are a couple of popular drag names. They have their own album out there. They just have job opportunities that instead of working at like some fast food, some office, that they're having a fun time being what they want to be. And that's what I want to do. I want to perform, I want to go out and have fun. And so by that being said, my conclusion overall is to fight the fact how people think being a drag queen is messy. Drag is a creation, not just being homosexual. By RuPaul saying in one of her songs, born naked, we're all born naked and the rest is drag. Thank you. Yeah.
I like it.
I didn't even know he was a drag queen until I saw it.
Honestly, I didn't know this either.
Well, it was kind of fire.
She was so good.
I don't think no, that was because this time I had to notice you said something that would make you uncomfortable. If it's exactly what we do.
Because they say she wants to go free, and they call themselves Crush. Like they just they want to be both that night, but then they
Oh, okay.
so we don't like boring.
So if I'm really on stage, don't ever feel drag queen that boring.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's just like,
It's kind of like Madonna, just like she's. Well, I mean, like her real name's not Madonna. Like, yeah, like a Hannah Montana kind of thing. Like, don't come at me as if I'm Miley. Like, yeah.
All right, Joshua, the proposition at the beginning of the speech kind of gets, I think, a little distracted from because of the way that you identify yourself. The idea of the story, I think, is fine. Telling us the process that brought you into that, that's okay. I got to be honest with you, some of the language is a little problematic for me, and I know that you're being direct and honest in this context, but the classroom situation, it's a little iffy. You know, to use some of the terms that you're using. And I know that it might be perfectly appropriate in another context, but you have to remember the context that you're in. You got to look at this audience. And that's why I thought it was a little distracting, because I'm thinking about that as you're giving your propositional statement. Now, I knew what it was because I've got the outline. I don't know if anybody else was distracted the same way I was, but that's just an issue that you should be aware of. I did think that you previewed the supporting material pretty well, so we know where you're going with this idea. On the first part, though, everything is dependent on personal examples, and I think that's a good way to introduce the subject. It's easier for us to understand it when you share a perspective that is firsthand. I do think, however, that you need some information to back this up a little bit, to suggest that others find similar kinds of identity and satisfaction and success from engaging in the same kind of activity. And I don't have anything other than your say-so for this being the case. So it shouldn't be that hard to find some information about this lifestyle, this activity, people who write about it, talk about it, go through it. Obviously, there's a TV show where there's going a lot of discussion on it. I suspect that there's a lot of information out there that would be easily adaptable to making it evidence for your argument, and it would support the position that you're talking about. But that's, I think, the main problem with the speech isn't that necessarily that your ideas are unreasonable, but they aren't adequately supported. I think you need to have a lot more information on those points. The second point, when you get to it, I don't think you signposted it pretty well in the preview, but in the body of the speech, I don't think it was adequately addressed. And then I thought you got off topic a lot of times. You went into some other directions about other issues, and so you need to be a little bit more focused about the issue that you want to argue about here, how this is in fact something that's advantageous or liberating or empowering to people in the LGBT community to be able to do this sort of thing. And again, same sort of thing, that it is that way for you is great, but is it that way for other people? Have they had those kinds of experiences? Has it had a beneficial or positive effect on the community, for instance. And I think that there's probably information out there that talks about exactly those kinds of things, but you got to get it into the speech. And then the last point, talking about job possibilities. I don't know what the employment rate is in the drag queen shows. I don't know how many drag queens there are out there. I don't know how many people actually make a living doing this. That you might be able to do it, I think, is probably great. But you just tell us kind of hypothetically that you can do these kinds of things. We're not supposed to be using any artifacts, but for example, a paycheck for a place that you worked, or here's the tax return that I filed, and you can see I made X number of dollars doing this kind of thing. That would be something that would fit into this category, but that's personal in nature. It wouldn't surprise me at all, though, that maybe there's an employment site for this. So you say you could go to Europe and do this. Well, how do you book yourself when you do something like that? There's got to be some group or organization or institution because you don't just show up at some bar's door and knock on the door and say, can I come in and do this for the evening and get tips? There's probably a process or procedure for doing that. And so we need to hear about that. We need to know a little bit about that. So it's a different topic. It's interesting. I think that you've got the right supporting points for an argument. I just think that the proof is underwhelming here, and you're relying on personal experience to try and do that. All right. Thank you.